וסתלוני, וסתלוני, חיים חיים מריחים, וסתלוני, וסתלוני, חיים חיים של שלום, אוי אוי חיים חיים של טוב וברוך, החיים של פרנסו, וסתלוני חיים של טוב וברוך, החיים של פרנסו, אוי אוי חיים חיים של טוב וברוך, החיים של פרנסו, וסתלוני חיים של טוב וברוך.
Today I want to deal with what happens on a day that we don't say Tachanun. So we already said in the name of the Ramah, ובכל יום שאין אומרים בו צדקתך צדק, אין אומרים אותו, וכן כשיש חתונה או מילה. Namely, the Ramah says regarding רחמים, namely that prayer that was written for the Crusades, and Lo Aleinu, very relevant for what happened in the Gaza envelope, that you don't say it on days that you don't say Tachanun, which by default means you don't say Tzidkatcha Tzedek at Mincha on Shabbos, and therefore you also refrain from saying probably Kel Maley. Why? Because Rachamim is usually said at the end of the Kel Maleys. Is that assumption correct? The last line I just said, maybe not. Comes along the Shmirat Shabbos Gehilchasa and says that indeed, when you talk about a day in which in the morning there's an addition, but in the afternoon there isn't. Namely, in the morning we added another Sefer Torah, or we bench Rosh Chodesh. Then that morning you should keep void of Kel Malei Rachamim. So, for example, when we bench Rosh Chodesh, or when we read the 4 Parshios, the morning, keep it clean from Rachamim and from Kel Malei. But in the afternoon, Mincha is a regular Mincha. You even say Tzidkatcha at Mincha, and therefore you can say Kel Malei at Mincha during those times. The Aruch HaShulchan says a second opinion, and he basically says on a Shabbos that you don't say Tachanun if it was a weekday, because on Shabbos we never say Tachanun, and on Shabbos Mevarchim you don't say Rachamim, and you don't say a Kel Malei, but im tzarich lahaskir, maskir. If you need to, you could, because even on Yantif we say Yisker. I don't know what that means. If you need to, you do. Maybe it means the gentleman can't make it back for Mincha. It's very hard for him to get to shul. Maybe he feels a need to say it dafka at Shachris. I don't know what that need is, but he says if there's a need, you can even say it at Shachris on a day that you wouldn't say Tachanun. Why? Because Yontif is a day we don't say Tachanun, and we say it at Shachris. So, from this perspective, comes along the Shmirat Shabbos Gehilchasa on a footnote and says, Im tzarich lahaskir, if you need to, his example is Ratzah lomar sheyesh lo yortzeit. Namely, that particular day, that Shabbos Mevarchim, is his yortzeit. He feels on the day of the yortzeit he wants to say a Kel Malei, and it's a day you read the Torah. Then he should say it even at Shachris. Why? Because even on Yantiv we allow it. So all the more so on a Shabbos. Comes along the Mishnah Berurah and allows it basically totally. He says that the Kel Malei Rachamim is allowed on Yantiv simply because it's not a eulogy, it is a tefillah, and therefore it's allowed all the time. And the Shara Tziyun comes along and says, this is not like Shaholchim ala kever maskirim neshamot romim sham Kel Malei Rachamim. When you go to the graveside and you say a Kel Malei, that's part of the eulogy. That's part of eulogizing the dead. You go to the actual gravesite. But after the year is over and you're doing it in shul, then for sure it's a tefillah, it's a prayer, and it is not, I repeat, it is not a eulogy. So even on a day that's void of Tachanun, even on a day that you do not say Tachanun because it's a happy day, you're allowed to say it. So to sum up, we started by saying that the Ramah paskins very clearly, you do not say a Kel Malei Rachamim on Shabbos Mevarchin. Very strange as to why, and we tried to deal with the reasons. The bottom line is, since you say it on Yantiv itself, and Yantiv is on a much higher level than Shabbos Mevarchin in terms of its inner happiness, then obviously it would probably give us leeway to allow it in certain situations. Number one, maybe not at Shachris, but at Mincha. Number two, on days in which you do say Tzidkatcha at Mincha. And number three, even on days that you don't, maybe it would be allowed at Mincha, simply because on a Yontiv, us Ashkenazim say Yisker, even at Shachris. So the next time you're in shul and someone asks to say a Kel Malei Rachamim on Shabbos Mevarchim, if they can follow the minhag of the Ramah and say it during the week, on a day we read the Torah close to the yortzeit, that would be my advice. Why go ahead and negate a Ramah? just like that. However, if there's a need of any sort, try to push it to Mincha, and if not, it can even be said at Shachris, simply because, as the poskim say, we say it on Shachris on the happiest days of the year, on the days we're obligated in Simcha, namely the Yomim Tovim.